Few questions on demographic stages. Remember that we have the starting pre-industrial, and in pre-industrial we have birth and death rates. Remember, these are the ones that fluctuate. This is how you determine a population growth. Remember, births minus deaths will tell you the growth, or R. Birth and death rates are high, so high at pre-industrial. A lot of births, a lot of babies popping out, a lot of deaths. You're not making it to 30. So as you move, though, to the second stage, transitional, what decreases? Birth rates stay the same, but death rates decrease. So as my death rates decrease, reducing this D, what's going to happen to this number? It's going to become more positive. So therefore, your population size is going to exponentially grow. As we move on through our next stage into our industrial, what tends to come down then? You remember birth rates here? Birth rates come down. So you are reducing your TFR. And what is TFR? It's total fertility rate. What does that mean? How many babies per woman? So that's coming down. So what's going to happen to our population size? Is it going to decrease? It's not decreasing, but it will slow down in its growth. Eventually, you get to a point where the birth rates come down even farther than the death rates, and if you have a negative value here, what's happening to your growth? That's when, in a post-industrial society, your population size starts to decrease, where your births are lower than your deaths. Pre-industrial, high and high. Transitional, high births, deaths come down. Industrial, births come down, or TFR comes down. Post-industrial, births lower than the deaths, population decrease. If we look at TFR, total fertility rates across the world, where do you notice that they're the highest? Yep, all across Africa, a lot of Middle Eastern places, and we can see some in South America. Where are they the lowest? Yeah, we got Canada, we've got Europe, Russia here, and then also Japan have very low TFRs, and they actually have declining populations, which have a lot of problems with that as well. Now, there was a question on increased flights, and this question looked like it was a graph, and then it gave you flights increasing, and what would be a problem with that? Well, what do you think? Yeah, you'd have an increased use of fossil fuels, so that's one, you're burning more, emitting more carbon dioxide. But there's one other. I've got FlightPass here looking how they transfer all across the world. Well, you can spread diseases really quick by planes. Think of it, you're in this small little area with all these people packed in. Everybody's coughing and breathing on everybody. So diseases can pass on or be spread very easily in planes. I've got a really cool video to show that shows this. Look, our infection starts here. Keep watching. What are these little things flying off? Oop. They're planes. So there it got to a dense population, urban area, and then as they spread even more and people take more flights, they might not know that they're sick, but they do contain the disease. They spread even more and more, and they go to these other airports, and then they spread even more, increase population densities, and you can see how infectious diseases spread. Alright, looking at how infectious diseases can spread by airplanes. Out of there, back to here. Few questions on pesticides. Two main terms that you want to know here is pesticide treadmill and integrated pest management. Now, where are you going when you're on a treadmill? You're not going anywhere. And that's kind of what happens with pesticide treadmills. Pesticides are used to control pests. So if we have these plants that we want to grow and we've got these pests eating them because we're feeding them, basically planting their crops here and they're there, so they're going to eat, you have, once again, think of natural selection, variation within your population. So we can see here that variation. And you spray it the first time with a pesticide application. And it kills off most individuals. But that variation tends to be able to handle that pesticide well. Some of the other individuals that didn't have that variation live as well. But after a second, after time, they reproduce. All right, so we got, since they're insects and they're small, they have short lives and they reproduce really fast, so their populations bloom back up. But now you're going to have equal proportions of resistant individuals with non-resistant individuals. And with your second application of pesticides, who's going to live? Yeah, more of your resistant individuals. So that makes the effectiveness of the pesticides decrease. So we can see here over time, with continuing using these applications of these pesticides, what happens to the number of resistant species? They increase. So the pesticide treadmill really looks at use of pesticides will increase. Use of pesticides will increase. What about the cost? Spending money on pesticides, that's going to increase. But the effectiveness of killing these pests are going to what? Are they going to be effective? No, they are going to dramatically decrease. Pesticide treadmill, increasing use, increasing the cost of doing it, decreasing the effectiveness. So a way to handle this, or to try to not use as much pesticides, is what is we known as an IPM, or Integrated Pest Management. And this is using different techniques like cultural and physical to remove them, biological controls, natural predators of the pest, whatever the pest might be, you're going to introduce a predator to try to control that. The problem with integrated pest management is that it requires a lot of education. And where these pesticides are being used are a lot in developing nations where they grow a lot of crops. And education just is not available for those individuals. So the pesticide treadmill continues. DDT, this is a type of pesticide. It was banned in the US in 1960. But most of us, if we were able to take a blood sample of you and me, most of us have trace elements of DDT in us. So where is this coming from? Why would DDT still be in us if it's been banned? Well, not all our fruits and vegetables were grown here. And DDT is great at killing mosquitoes. And mosquitoes carry malaria. So a lot of countries where malaria is a bigger problem than individuals being affected by endocrine disrupting pesticide DDT, they still use DDT. 20 countries still use DDT, and some of those countries are ones that we import our fruits and vegetables from. So that's how you can still get DDT exposure, is by eating some of these vegetables that might be imported